Welcome to the Black Educated Tea Podcast. I'm your host, Makeda Marie, and today's topic of discussion is toxic relationships. But, as always, before we get into the tea, let's get into this tea. So today I am drinking a sleepy time tea. I am a little sleepy, so I do want to, after I finish the podcast, I want to kind of relax and just, actually get a good night's sleep. So I'm drinking sleepy time tea. I'm already getting myself prepared for a good night's sleep. And this tea has raspberry leaves in it, chamomile, and it has a couple more components in it as well. And it really does relaxes you, helps you really sleep good. So it's sleepy time tea, and it's something you can make yourself. You can mix it with lavender, chamomile, peppermint, anything that's going to be relaxing. It is caffeine free, so I really suggest that you try it. So I'm drinking sleepy time tea, and I got my Dope Diva candle over here going. Yes, I do. So I'm already getting in my zone. So when I do get ready and lay down and go to sleep, I'm going to be really relaxed, and I'm going to have a good night's sleep. I'm already going to claim it. So let's go ahead and get into the topic at hand here: toxic relationships. Toxicity, however you want to look at it, whether we know it or not, there's a lot of toxic things going on in our environment, whether it's relationships or whether it's just out in our environment, whether it's the things that we're consuming, whether it's the things that we're breathing, taking in, whatever. We're all kind of surrounded by toxicity, unfortunately. But I just want to really talk about toxic relationships. And when I speak of toxic relationships, it could be friendships, it could be marriage, it could be a relationship with your parents, with coworkers. And for me, I think it took me years to really realize that I was in toxic relationships, whether it was with family or friends or whether it was with coworkers. And when I say toxic relationships, for me, it was the people I was surrounding myself with. These particular people were toxic for me. We just didn't mesh at all. And they brought in a negativity, or they brought in a negative vibe. And I'm an empath, so I easily pick up on people's emotions and feelings and whatever they're going through. And I absorb that a lot. And I can pass someone in walking and just kind of pick up on how they're feeling by their facial expressions or just the energy. And it can change and just swift and alter my whole day or my whole moment or whatever. And so when I think of just toxic relationships, it was the people I was surrounding myself with, the things that I was allowing people to do to me as well. And at some point, I think we're all going to experience a toxic relationship. It's just going to look different for everyone, because it could be a spouse. You can have a spouse that's a narcissist, or you can have a spouse that's just emotionally unstable. You can have a spouse that's just financially just spends, all the money and doesn't consider, the financial aspects of the household. And so toxic just looks so different for so many different people. You can have parents that are just toxic. You can have parents that are just always so negative. They're always, just so down and never can see the positive in anything and don't want to see you doing good, or think that if their life is a certain way, and then your life should be that same way. I mean, I haven't experienced that with my parents, but I've definitely seen it with, family and friends and how they treat their kids. And, if the kid comes to them and they have some good news: oh, mom, I just purchased the car, I just purchased the house, I just got a new job, or I just enrolled in school. And they're like, why? Why would you enroll in school? You're not going to graduate anyways. Or why did you go purchase that new car? You can't afford it anyways. Or, why are you trying to take a trip out of town? You don't have any money anyways, So, and I mean, there's a difference between being cautious and being, a responsible adult, and then there's a difference between just being toxic to everything that somebody has to say. If this person can never uplift you or see the positive in anything that you have going, that is a toxic relationship. Because there are those times where, as an adult, if you see someone and they're doing something that's really harmful to them, yeah, you speak up on it. But there's those times where someone, if they're graduating from school, they've purchased a new house, purchased a new car, or even if they just, decided to buy themselves a new dress, you have those people: oh, why did you buy that dress? It's not going to look good on you anyways. Why would you purchase that dress? That color doesn't look right on you. That style of dress doesn't look right on you. Just always just being negative. And like I said, toxic relationships is different for everyone. I have been in several different toxic relationships, and I don't even think I realized it because it became the norm. And at no time should a toxic relationship become the norm. But it really became the norm for me. I saw absolutely nothing wrong with it. And still, I started to change my mindset. So as I started to change my mindset and I wanted more positive things in my life and I wanted changes in my life, started realizing like, this person is a little toxic, or this person's a little negative, or, is this person really down for me like they say they are? Is this person, really there to uplift me, or is it all about making them look good, or is it the fact that I'm just beneficial for them? So I had to start reconsidering, actually stepping back and looking at some things. And like, is this person really beneficial in my life? Are they adding to me? Are they adding to my life? And am I adding to them? Vice versa. Because some people may say that I'm toxic toward them. And that doesn't mean there's absolutely anything wrong with me. And that doesn't mean there's absolutely anything wrong with that person. We just may be toxic for each other. Because I have a personality that doesn't fit and doesn't match with everybody. So that's another thing to think about. When you think of toxic relationships and toxic people, that doesn't mean that is a bad person. Because I may be toxic for some. I may be too calm, too relaxed, or too hardworking, or too driven, or just too outspoken, or just too nonchalant. And some people, they just can't handle that. So I am not a fit for everybody. Just like everybody is not going to be a fit for me. And that doesn't make me a bad person, just like it doesn't make them a bad person. And just because a person thinks negatively doesn't mean that they are a bad person. That is just how they think. That is how they process things. But for me, I don't necessarily want that around me. Because for some people, I may be too bubbly. I may be too positive all the time. I may just see rainbows and stars all the time. And they're like, that's not reality. That's not how everything is. So everybody does not see things the same way I do. But that doesn't mean that I am a bad person. It doesn't mean that they're a bad person. We just look at things totally different. So sit back and evaluate, the toxic relationships that you have in your life. And, are they benefiting you in any kind of way, or are they causing more harm to you? And usually if it's a toxic relationship, it is 9 out of 10 times causing you harm, because anything toxic is not going to turn out to be beneficial or, be helpful in no kind of way. So eliminate and step away and find a way to get out of that toxic relationship, whether it's, like I say, kids, parents, spouse, co-workers, whatever it is. Do not put yourself through the pain and the suffering of wanting to be involved in that toxic relationship. Because you don't know how much that is hurting you from growing as a person to reaching the potential that you want to reach when you are involved in that toxic relationship. And that's not to say things are never going to be perfect. So sit back and actually think, is this person really toxic? Or is this person really just telling me the truth or what I need to hear? Because now, sometimes we don't want to hear the truth. The truth can hurt. So actually sit back and see, well, they did, kind of say, do get the car, but make sure you can just get something that you can afford, because you are in the process of buying a new house or something like that. So really just sit down and evaluate if this person's really toxic, or if they're really just telling you something that you just don't want to hear and it may be the truth. So, you have to differentiate those things as well. Because when it's toxic, it's toxic. You know it. You know it because you feel it with every fiber in you when you know that it's toxic. Because you have that feeling and the emotion that comes behind it every time that person speaks or every time you're around that person. And so you know when it's toxic or not. And no one else can tell you that. But you know when it's toxic. But really evaluate, and sit down and be like, does this person really mean me any good? Are they really beneficial for me? Am I beneficial for them? Are we just absolutely wasting our time? Are we wasting our time? Trying to see it from their point of view and have them see it from our point of view. Are we really just wasting our time? So toxic relationships, really, think about what that looks like for you, how that is affecting your life. Because like I said, at some point we have all been a part of a toxic relationship, and it just depends on the relationship. And one of the most difficult things of a toxic relationship is if it's a parent, if it's a kid, if it's a spouse, or even if it's a dear friend that we've had for many years. It's really hard to see it as a toxic relationship, and it's really hard to see that it's causing us harm. But when you start to change your mindset and you start to change, your well-being, and you want better, you want a healthier lifestyle, then you really will start to see, who's toxic and who's not. Because everybody's not toxic. Everything is not toxic. So just know how to notice it. And when, because sometimes there are red flags. There are red flags, especially in the beginning. But like I said, this is a parent, just start separating yourself from them. If you're like, man, my mom or my dad are just always so negative, and no matter what I do, they can't never see it from my point of view. They're never supportive, and they always say the meanest and nastiest things to me. And if it's getting to a point that it is hurting you, please just step back from it. Love your parent, love your kids, but you can love people from a distance. You really can. You really can, because anything that's affecting you in any kind of way, you don't want it to be a part of your life. So just separate yourself from it, love them from a distance. Be there if you can. If you can't be there, then don't be there. And don't have any feelings toward it, because you are the most important thing. So always remember that. So I really would love to hear your responses, comments on, the toxic relationships that you've, had in your life, and how you've handled it as well, because everybody has different toxic relationships. Everybody has handled it different. Or have you not even handled it and you're just trying to figure out a way to approach it? So I would love to hear your comments and responses, and anything you can add to this on toxic relationships. And as always, this is the Black Educated Tea Podcast.